Alright, and so we'll just jump right into this, keep going. So, he gets into the elevator, after getting soaked, he's all wet from the rain. And, we see him go in, and then with this time the score is really cranking up. The score, because I think his mind is anxious, the score is cranking. He slowly goes into the apartment. Sophie's. He's going into Sophie's apartment. And he begins to feel around. It's like a sense of, you get a sense that he's gathering his thoughts, like he's skimming the place out. And it's like if he actually had been in there before, he wouldn't have had to do that. Is what you get the sense of. He's feeling his way around. He sits on the couch. You can hear Sophie in the next room, and like that's her actual characterization. The actual characterization of Sophie the person is her obvious attachment to her daughter, which is, I mean, that's a very human thing. Of course, she's attached to her daughter. The character Sophie deeply cares for her daughter. Every time the character is actually on screen, she's with the daughter. Every time she's a hallucination, she's not with the daughter, because the daughter expresses her humanity. When she's with the daughter, she's a human. When she's not with the daughter, she's not actually there. Simple enough, right? Comes in the room, sees Arthur on the couch. She flips out. What are you doing here? Your name's Arthur, right? You live down the hall. And then it cuts back into all the flashbacks of all the moments that he was with her when she wasn't actually there. I did see people criticizing this part because they felt that was a little too drawn out for their taste. I didn't have a problem with it myself because I thought the score really helped amp up the tension in that moment. So I didn't have a problem with it myself, but I can see why people thought it was a little bit drawn out, that one sequence. And at this point, he puts the gun up to the fake gun. There was the interaction based off an interaction that they had together on the elevator. And so, like, they add a whole suicide element to this movie. It's like, is Arthur Fleck going to commit suicide? Which wasn't expressed. This adds a whole new layer of tension to every subsequent scene. Very interesting idea that they took with this, because it's an element that you didn't see coming. It's like, because it's not connected to the DCEU, he could actually really do it. I think because like. That could be the entire reason that this was a one-off. Like it was an unexpected layer of tension that you didn't actually see coming as you went into the theater, that you were going to get that element. But again, I really liked that aspect and how they kept playing it off. And it's one of those things that keeps you on the edge of your seat. And again, any positive thing about mental health and suicide awareness, get it in these movies, man. Get more people talking about it. Keep the discussions happening. They're needed. They're needed. And like that's why I think this movie does, with the fact that the government cut the funding to the mental health. Like, I think this movie has a lot to say about mental health, and there's an obvious interpretation we could get into about mental health. Again, not going to cover it here because it would take too long. But we're just. And now here is the scene. Here's the part where this has been a huge debate amongst fans and the directors and cinematographers. Everyone's been weighing in on this. Does Arthur kill Sophie and or her daughter in this scene? Because all we get is that he leaves the apartment, and then he goes on the couch, and then he smokes a cigarette. And that's all we get. It's left, but then there's an ambulance that comes in. So like, what's the deal? Now, this is where I would like to have a brief halt and talk about theory for a little bit. Theory, literary theory, film theory. The director and the cinematographer have both come out, Todd Phillips and the cinematographer have come out to say that Sophie does not die in this movie. That the character lives. Let me talk to you about theory really quickly. So you could be of two counts here. You can be in the count like he's the director of the movie, and I think he wrote it too. His word is law. Or you could be in the camp of that's not in the movie. You don't have to listen to what he says. It's not in the movie. What matters is what's in the film itself, what's in the piece of art. An interview surrounding the art is not part of the art itself, and the film leaves it up to interpretation. That's what camp I'm in. I don't care, as much as I respect Todd Phillips and the cinematographer for both doing a really good job, what they say does not affect my interpretation and my reading of this movie. My reading of this movie is that there's blood on him and there's an ambulance pulling in. And he, at the very least, did physical harm to Sophie. If you want to say she lived in your headcanon, fine. I think the evidence points to that she at least was attacked. I think she died because I don't think Arthur would spare anybody. So some people say, well, he only attacks people who do wrong to him. I think he viewed Sophie's inability to listen to him and the inability of, like, the fact that he was hallucinating the whole thing. I think he viewed that as too much to take, and I think he snapped. And my interpretation is that he kills her. Completely valid interpretation. I don't care what the director said in an interview. The interview is not a part of the fucking movie. Then this is a valid interpretation. It goes back to literary and film theory. And, like, how much control does the author actually have over their work when it's in the public? It's not entirely their work anymore. It's part of the public's work. If you wanted to indicate that, you put it in the goddamn movie. The fact that it wasn't in the movie leads to the fact that this is up for debate and interpretation. Much like the fact that is it actually happening? Like, is any of this actually happening? Is he Thomas Wayne's son? All of this. People, like, they also said that he's actually Thomas Wayne's kid, too. That's another thing that was said in interviews. That's what the Thomas Wayne actor was told on set, is that he's actually the father. But that doesn't matter. It's not in the movie. It's not in the movie, therefore it's up to interpretation. What you see in the film, not what's outside of it, not what's in interviews, who cares about that shit? It's not in the actual piece of art, so it doesn't matter. It's aesthetics. It's up to you. You're the viewer. Your interpretation is equally as relevant because you are consuming the product. It's whatever you want it to be, and the evidence points to the fact that Sophie and/or her daughter are at least attacked in this movie, and I think that's undeniable. But if you want to say they lived, the movie doesn't say. The movie doesn't comment on. I think the fact that they were at least attacked is absolutely undeniable. Because of the fact that there is blood on Arthur, and there is an ambulance that pulls in, and I think she said that says goddamn medic. I think that's what's said. I don't know, but that's my 2 cents on the whole Sophie situation. Next, we get our treat. The next scene, he goes in to his mother's hospital room, and we get some dialogue, and I mean, he's just snapping at this point, and it's like he's out of control. And I think Penny says something that's muffled. I don't know what it is, but I think she says "I love you" to him right before he kills her. I don't know. I can't tell, but because that would make if she was actually his mother more tragic. But then this scene's where we get the line of, "I used to think my life was a tragedy, but now I realize it's a fucking comedy," and he smothers her with a pillow. Again, very fast, but very accurate, very violent, very gruesome. For a lot of people, this was actually the most disturbing part of the movie, just because, I mean, that's his mother, and it's like, you know, a lot of people just found that disturbing. I watched this with my own mother. I could tell that was her least favorite part. That's just because it's just a natural mother thing, I guess, to be disturbed by that. And then he goes over, and this is another beautiful shot, and it's like it's an inverse of what's normal. He goes over, and he just lets the sun beam on him, and the camera's like zooming out. His dead mother's in the back of the room. He just killed her with a pillow. He sits there and lets the sun hit him in the face, and it's like he's freeing himself of all of his troubles, and he's slowly he's taking more action as he's becoming the Joker. You can see his inward personality. It's a reflection of his inward personality just coming out, and he's enjoying it. He's savoring. He's bringing all of this in. And so then we get the rehearsal scene where he's rehearsing for the Murray Franklin show, and they really start teasing the suicide element to this movie. I really like this rehearsal scene. I think it added, it's like, it's weird, but it's also at the same time, it's like, he's studying. You can, like, he rewinds the footage, it's so methodical. He's really premeditating this whole thing out. Not a whole lot to say about it other than that. It's just it's a very well done scene. And then we get him actually turning his hair green, and then he's dancing to "That's Life," which is now a song I listen to all the time. Then we get probably the most violent scene in the movie next, where his face is semi-painted white, and Randall and then the midget guy come over, and so they start talking to him about the subway murders, because I mean they come over with the false pretense of they're gonna help him because his wife died, but you can tell that Randall was only interested in talking about the subway murders to clear his own name. This bothers Arthur, who takes a pair of scissors and he fucking stabs the fucking crap out of him. Stabs him in the neck and then the eye. It's really brutal. Slams him against the wall, and the midget's just screaming in the background. He backs up, and it's like it's very gory. It's more gory than you're expecting. But again, it keeps the constant theme of the violence in this movie. Super fast, super quick, but super brutal and efficient. It's not a fight scene, it just happens. It's like, this is what real violence is, and it continues to depict this subject matter very well. And Arthur says, this is where he stops becoming sympathetic, because he's really turning into the Joker at this point. He's like he does like Joker-esque things, like he teases the midget about his height. He's like, fucking crazy, isn't it, me on the telly? Like he starts becoming things that you cannot relate to, because like the midget was a nice character, and plus he's like, the midget has kind of natural audience sympathy because he's a midget. I don't know why that is. It's just a thing that happens. Sorry guys. But he teases him about, and it's like, but then he goes, "You're the only one who was ever nice to me." He kisses him, lets him out. This is very real, people. This, like, if Joker was a real person, this is what he would be. And again, since this is a very realistic, especially with some of the violence that happens today with the gun violence and the regulations, and they only hurt people who are mean to them. This is all really real stuff, and I get why people like this movie hit close to home, because that's what it was trying to fucking do. They succeeded. Brutal scene though, and like the tension in that room was, again, crazy with the tension. Like, is he gonna let the midget out? Is he not gonna let the midget out because of the height with the door? It's like you really don't know what he's gonna do, because at this point Arthur Fleck is an incredibly unpredictable character. You don't know what he's thinking, you don't know what he's gonna do. He just killed his own mom. You don't know what he killed Sophie, who was a positive, or he at least attacked Sophie. He was a positive state for him for the rest of the year. So like, he's at this point not sympathetic. He's killing innocents, and he's unpredictable. You don't know what he's gonna do. So they did a very good job with that scene with regards to tension and pacing, and just letting the moment linger, and just specific shots with like the door when he's slowly the door open, it, just stuff like that, small stuff. Now we get to, oh my god, the last 30 minutes of this movie. My best experience at a cinema ever. These 30 minutes, dude. My first viewing of these 30 minutes, absolutely incredible. I will never forget it as long as I live. I just, like, it's one of those things I can just picture, and I can remember clear as day. Just sitting there, like, just remembering all the feelings inside of myself. Just the way my stomach churned, and the tension. Just like, it's one of those seat clenchers, dude. Like, really crazy. You don't know where the narrative is going, because it could go any direction at this point. And it's just, it's intense. And okay, well, so let's get through it. We start with one of my favorite scenes in the movie, one of the internet's favorite scenes in the movie, the dancing scene, where he dances down the stairs. And again, it's very bright. This is one of the shots in the movie that's it's a very bright scene. The character is like enjoying himself for like the first time in his goddamn life. And you can see the enjoyment resonate on his face. He closes his eyes and just lets himself like kind of dance with the wind. He lets himself be free. You can see that, like, as bad as becoming the Joker is for Arthur Fleck, it's release. It's healthy. He is becoming more himself. He's becoming happier with himself because he's not repressed anymore. He's not chained down by the society that was doing it to him, as much as that's a meme. But like, he's free. He is free, and like that freedom is expressed through his dancing down the stairs, and he dances down the stairs away from his past life. And that's why he does it down the stairs specifically. You could also interpret it, he's dancing into madness. Like, there's a lot of different meanings that staircase has in this movie. But he's dancing away from the stairs that he walks up so many times proves it. The only time you see him going down the stairs when he's dancing, if I'm correct. You only see him go up until he dances down the stairs. That is the only time you see him go down. The detectives show up, they get into the chase. He gets in the chase, and like you can just see him, like he really like looks like Joker. Like, I mean, I know he's like obviously Joker, he's got the suit and the makeup on, but like at this point in the movie, like I think it has a lot to do with his hair for this movie. They really went with a Heath Ledger-esque look, but like a lot of like scenes of him just from the back, you can just kind of like have a subconscious resemblance to Heath Ledger. I think the choice of his hair looking a lot like Ledger was very intentional, and I think it adds a lot to that final act because you remember a lot. You remember the Ledger performance. You see him go, "Yep, that's Joker. Look at his hair. That's totally Joker." He gets on the subway. You get the scene of him when he puts on the clown mask in the subway, and the detectives he loses them, and he does a very Joker-esque thing where he lets them know he got away by dancing, and then he runs off, and then you get probably the best shot of the movie when he's slowly walking, and the single tear goes down his face. There's no turning back. He puts the cigarette in, and the score again looming, slow motion shot. Oh, it's such a beautiful shot. And then we get to the Murray Franklin show. And it's like again the tension. The tension, man. Like Murray Franklin walks in, the tension's there already. And like Joker stands up, like he's looking at Franklin. He means business. And they do all the small talking about like, the look and all this shit. And by the way, since they're talking about the look in the movie, the redesign for Joker, I know some people are mixed on it. It's so good. I love the suit, I love the makeup, I love the blue. I love the blue. This is one of Joker's best redesigns ever. And I really hope more future incarnations of the character have those blue. What are they? I don't even know what they are. Spades? They're from playing cards, I believe. But like, I really love the makeup. And I think every time I'm usually Joker for Halloween. I think every Halloween I'm going to be Joaquin Phoenix Joker from now on, regardless to the makeup. I love the blue, and I really hope that it's incorporated into more future incarnations of the character. The blue and like the red nose and the smile, like they did such a good job with the makeup. Well, again, one of the character's best redesigns ever. And I'm so glad they gave him a redesign for the movie, because like I think it's important that he got a redesign, because like it makes him really stick out in this particular movie. And this is his movie, which again I've always said he would work as a protagonist, and I'm so glad that my prediction was correct. This happens, we get another tease of him committing suicide, and then, oh my god. He goes on, the Franklin show happens, and then you get another beautiful scene where he's about to enter, and they're playing the scene. And like, you can see the people that are kind of operating the cameras kind of looking at him like he's a freak, but he's sitting there, he's savoring the moment. Because in his mind right now, he's still gonna commit suicide. This is the thing he's always dreamed of, and nobody cared about Arthur Fleck. Nobody wanted to. Well, I mean, he knows what he's about to do. That's what I'm trying to say. Like this is the thing he's always wanted. He's taking a big deep breath and he's gonna savor it. And he goes on the show, and then like immediately the music starts up, and then it's like. but it's like the score is like so low, then it gets so high in the span of a second. He has pretty damn hilarious entrance, and then Murray Franklin starts kind of making fun of him instantly, and oh my god, I could just, again, the tension in this scene is so incredible. Because you don't know which way it's going to go. I think that's the best thing of the Suicide element, because when we all saw it, assumed he was going to go on the Murray Franklin talk show, we immediately all got Dark Knight Returns vibes. It's like, he's just going to kill everybody. But it's like, with the Suicide element, there's a whole new layer of tension to the scene that it wouldn't have otherwise. Because it's like, who's gonna die here? You know, well, you don't really know. And like, it's another thing about, it's a Hitchcock thing about tension. You know, with the bomb under, like, that nobody in the room knows. Nobody in the room knows that there's a fucking time bomb just sitting right in front of them that's about to explode on all of them. And then he tells the knock-knock joke, and then the room just goes silent. And no, he tells the knock-knock joke, and then he admits to killing the 3 guys in the subway. Room goes silent. Tension huge. It's huge amounts of tension. It's just like, it's an indescribable thing. Really, just like sitting in the theater watching that. Oh god, it's just it. And then then we are treated to what I believe is probably the best monologue I have ever fucking seen in a movie theater. I'm not gonna call it the. It's too early to say if it's the best of all time or not, but like, certainly at the time that I've been alive and all the movies that I've seen, the best monologue I've ever seen in my life. About the world just yelling and screaming at each other. No one's civil anymore, and it's like, yeah, it's. Oh my god, dude. It's like, you know, it's one of those things, like, when I was in there in the movie for the first time, there's so much tension in the scene, like, you're listening and you're invested, but then, like, the 5th time you see it, like, it almost brings a tear to your eye, dude. Especially if you relate to this character. And, like, the thing about Arthur Fleck is, Arthur Fleck isn't just any incarnation of the Joker. Arthur Fleck is the most relatable incarnation of the Joker. I think more people relate to Arthur Fleck than they do any other incarnation of this character. And I relate to a lot of incarnations of the Joker, but Arthur Fleck is definitely the most relatable one, at least to me. And so, like, this monologue, again, like, lots of Joker fans, we have problems expressing who we are. And I think that's a big part of why I wanted my parents to see this so much. Because I made both my parents go see it. And, like, it's just, like, this... like, it's just, it goes back to, everyone has their own experience with it, and like, my experience is everyone tells me I'm dark and negative, and it's just like the movie that kind of reflects my personality to a lot of people out there. And this is a lot, this is, like, there's no reason to be happy in this world, and so, like, that's the problem I have a lot with my own depression, and I'm not a Tumblr I've actually been diagnosed. This is a lot of the problems that I have. There's no reason to be happy. There's no reason. And because the world is cruel, it's a cruel beast, and and it's like the things he says about people are completely accurate, and it's like, like, everyone is awful these days, and it's just like, you know, it's such a crazy, relatable final speech that and people do actually feel that way. If there's one thing, I'm not trying to be edgy. Like, people actually think that way about the world, and I'm one of them. It's a very nihilistic worldview, and that kind of nihilism is present in this world because of how people treat each other. Nihilists aren't born; they are created. And nihilism is a belief system that deserves more representation. There's not enough movies about nihilism. There's not enough talk about nihilism. And to see nihilism, I think the movie represented nihilism in a very, very good way, and I hope to see more like it. How he says, like, I don't believe in anything. Like, that's so accurate. Accurately depicts the concept of nihilism. Which, again, I think needs more depiction. I identify as a nihilist in some regards, not all regards, but in some regards. But, you know, it's a very, very powerful, relatable final speech by the Joker, and he And then we get probably the most iconic line in the fucking movie. What do you get when you cross a mentally ill loner with a society that abandons him and treats him like trash? I'll tell you what you get. You get what you fucking deserve. He shoots Murray Franklin, and fucking cinema history was made. And it's like, you feel like the tension just, like, the tension escalates when he says, he begins that line. The audio just cues it. You're ready for it. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. You know it's coming. Boom, it happens, and you slump back like it's over. It finally happened, because it's like a band-aid. You know it's coming. You just gotta rip the damn thing off. And then he goes up, he shoots him again, he dances over, he skips over to the fucking camera, picks it up, it says, always remember that's light, and then it cuts off. And then you get this little montage of shit. And it's like, it's just parts of the speech. You get what you fucking deserve. If it was me dying on the sidewalk, you'd walk right over, all that stuff plays. And then it says Gotham is burning, and then you get, and then here it comes. Like, the police got him. He's just watching the city get destroyed by all these protesters, and he's smiling because he inspired this revolution. He truly has become something. You get why he's happier than he was before, because he became something to these people. These people made that nobody cares about Arthur Fleck, but they care about Joker. And so he gives them Joker, and like, the song choice is just, it's of course exquisite as it always was, but it's just, it's so beautiful. Like, the entire sequence, I'll talk about more at the end, but it's such a beautiful scene. And then the car smashes the police, they take him out, everyone's dancing, the footage slows down, the music cues up to that score. Thomas and Martha Wayne take Bruce into the alley. The guy, Joe Chill, I guess, comes up behind him. Hey Wayne, you get what you fucking deserve. Shoots him. And Joker wakes up at the same time. Arthur Fleck is reborn at the same time Batman is created. And then you get the scene where he dances, and then he does probably what should be the most iconic shot. I say the best shot of the movie. I've said that like 4 times now. He does the blood smile, the crowd cheers, the score is elevating. Again, it's a beautiful fucking scene, but it's like backwards, it's inverted. Like, you shouldn't be thinking this is a beautiful scene, but it's presented in the way of the character's mind. It's presented in the character's mindset. This is beautiful to him because he's become something. He's become better than he was when he was Arthur Fleck. He may have fallen, but in his own mind, he's risen to something. It's so powerful because it's not good, but it is good for him. In his own mind, it's good. And that's why it's presented as such, because this entire movie is framed in this character's mindset. It's beautiful because it has meaning. These people, they need this meaning, and whatever they get, whatever gives them that meaning is beautiful. I'm not saying that it's beautiful to go out and kill people. What I'm saying that this character, Arthur Fleck, needed meaning in his life, and he found it through becoming the Joker, because nothing else could give it to him. Literally nothing else in his life gave him meaning. But when he put on that makeup and closed out, when he put the makeup, he got things done. When he snapped, he got things done. His troubled attraction to Zazie Beetz, his character, gone. Sophie, gone. His rocky relationship with his mother and that they're caring about is gone. Just when he stopped, when he embraced nihilism and became Joker, everything is gone, because nihilism filled the holes that nothing else could fill. And so that's why this movie is about empathy. It's about understanding. It's about giving these people something to fill all their holes. And I say these people like I'm not one of them, but it's like, but we crave something to fill our holes. And if nothing else happens, we all fill holes in a different way. We all fill our holes given to us by our depression and our nihilism and our mental problems. We fill them all in different ways. And like this character in particular chose a life of crime to fill his holes. And that's what worked for him. That's not how everybody copes. Obviously, I fill my holes much differently than this character, but the core concepts are still the same. That's why this character is relatable to people. That's why. But nobody understands that because they're all fucking screeching about incel violence, and this movie's gonna cause problems. It's fucking ridiculous. And that last scene with the blood smile is so beautiful. It really is. And like it can be viewed as beautiful from multiple interpretations. It's just well shot, well edited. Everything looks great. The music and the meaning to the comments about classism and political stuff that could possibly be interpreted from it. But just everybody has their own meaning of it. And again, my meaning is that the mentally ill fill their holes themselves. If they're not getting the support that they need, they fill the holes themselves through their own various ways and their own various means. Because society does abandon them. I have been abandoned so many times in my life because I've been considered too bonkers for people to have to deal with. And it's sad, and it's like, I'm not, like, again, not trying to make excuses, like, it's hard, and we all deal with that pain differently. And again, some of us are deeper than others. The character of Arthur Fleck was so deep into mental instability, and that's where the violence came from. And it's like, it's also a call to us, I believe, the people that suffer from these mental conditions. It helps people understand, but it's also a call to us to never become like that. We don't ever want to become like that. We want to make sure we're better than that. And it's hard to talk about this without getting emotional, because, like, as much as we all like to say, like, we think like the Joker, we act like the Joker, you don't want to think and act like the Joker. That should always be your goal not to be. And it's like, yeah, we can agree with the nihilism and agree with the fact that the world is crazy, but, like, we can't submit to it, and we should never become like that. That should always be our goal, to make sure that we can get through our situation without needing to resort to things like that. And if we are feeling things like that, we need to get help. It's hard, and it's really hard, but we have to do it. That's our plate, and we have to eat it. And it's like, it's I don't want to, like, I'm trying to say you can't be the Joker, but, like, you know, I also still really relate to this character. And I don't think relating to this character is wrong either. I think that, like, the character's final speech at the end is so wonderful, and it's like, it's one of those things where, like, I just found myself nodding the entire fucking time, like, he's right. But and it's just one of those things where it's one of those things where you interpret it differently depending on the day. Like, sometimes you do want to go out and just smash everybody. You do. I'm not gonna pretend there are days where but I think everybody feels like that sometimes. Like, there's the simple, like, there's just so many things you could say about it, but, like, my thoughts are getting too scrambled, but, like, the point is, that's a beautiful ending scene, and it gets me emotionally worked up when I have to talk about it, because I really do love it, and it's probably my favorite scene that I've seen in a very long time, because, like, the character fell, but he rose at the same time, and it's very complicated. And then you get the last scene with him in the asylum talking to another African American that kind of resembles his social worker, and his teeth actually kind of resemble the way that they were in the first scene too. And then you get this very, like, what's the joke? You wouldn't get it. He leaves. That's Life plays. and then cut the credits to the end. That scene is there to make you think the movie might not actually be real, and this is why I kind of got slightly irritated with it, because like I didn't want the movie to not be real, you know, because the stuff we just watched was gold, and they had earned that ending. With the blood smile, they had earned that, and so for them to go say, "Ah, it actually just wasn't real," that kind of irritated me. But at the same time, it actually doesn't say that it wasn't real. Like, there's nothing in there that intrinsically states that what the events didn't happen. I believe that they did happen. And I think there is a valid interpretation for it. Again, the interpretation is valid because they earned that blood smile. That's the only reason that... of course, I could go and prove my case, but I mean, we'd be here all day. The point is that it leaves the door open for various interpretations, and that's the appeal of this movie. And if that scene is responsible for some of the repeat viewings that people have had of this movie, then it's a good thing that it's there. And like, I personally view the scene just fine, and I still don't think it takes away from anything, because I still interpret the events as legit happening, because they earned them. The movie earned the scene, and say it's not real takes away that ending power. And that ending scene with the blood smile, so powerful to me. I can't live in a world where it didn't happen, and that's honestly my main reason for why it did happen, because it happened to me. And such a good movie. I obviously think this is a fucking 10 out of 10, and I wish it would win Best Picture, but I know we don't live in that world. It's gonna get snubbed, dude. I wouldn't be surprised if Joaquin Phoenix gets snubbed for Best Actor, which he should be locked in for to win. It would be an injustice if he didn't. But, you know, I wouldn't be surprised with all the shit that's happened with this movie. I wouldn't be surprised if we get snubbed. I still don't think we're gonna win shit at the Oscars. You can go back to my other video for that. But this movie is a fucking masterpiece, and it's a conversation starter for so many issues that need to be brought up and need to be addressed. And it has my utmost respect for that reason. Again, even if this was called Arthur, it has nothing to do with Joker, this would be a masterpiece. But the fact it has Joker on top is just icing on the cake. And this movie is a game changer. It's gonna change the way that business is done by fucking lowering the budgets, if that can be anything. The biggest thing that this movie will still be talked about for is the fact that it's probably going to be responsible for the budgets lowering on these blockbusters, so they can in turn make a better profit. But other than that, we have to talk about it forever now because it's the first R-rated movie to pass $1 billion. So it will forever be, it will forever be in the conversation about the history of cinema forever, just for that reason alone. And it was actually, it was an incredible movie. I just sung its praises for like an hour and a half, so it's my favorite movie of all time already. But it was the best movie theater experience I've ever had in my entire life, and I just wish there were more movies like it. I don't ever want a sequel. I think they should just leave it alone. But that being said, I'm also not opposed to a sequel. I don't want one, but if they make one with a true artistic vision behind it, I will go see it. Well, I mean, if they make a sequel, I'll go see it, but like, if they make a sequel, they need to make sure there is artistic vision behind it. They shouldn't just do it for money. That would defeat the purpose of everything that this first movie was about. But if they do it, they need to do it right. And if they need to do it, they need to stay true to this movie's roots. Take a low budget. Don't go any higher than $65 million. Or 75. Just don't break $100 million with the budget. That's why this movie was so successful. Because I love Joker, but I'm not stupid. Like this movie was helped by the media slandering it, and the fact that it's low budget helped it make a better profit. That's why this movie was so successful. Don't just assume that it's going to be successful again and up the budget. Keep the budget low to maximize your profits. If you're going to do a sequel, make sure that there is true artistic vision behind it. I'm not worried about that, though. I think Joaquin Phoenix isn't going to sign on unless there is. So, very good movie. It's just one of the, it leaves you speechless every time you talk about it. And I'll never forget it as long as I fucking live. And movies like this and scenes like the ones we got here are the reason why this character is my favorite fictional character of all time and will forever be my favorite fictional character of all time. They did it justice, and I never thought I would live in a world where we would get a movie about my favorite fictional character this fucking good. Because they didn't just do it, like they did it well. They did it with respect, and they did it with craftsmanship, and they talked about things. They talked about emotional things that just it gets more emotional every time I think about it, because like it's one of those things where, you know, like I said, I cared about it on a personal level before it came out, because I thought of its artistic potential and they really got it right, and it makes me feel understood more because it exists, because they really depicted mental illness correctly and problems with how we treat it in our country accurately, and that makes me feel more understood by its existence, and that's something I'll never forget as long as I live. And so it's another reason why I'll always love this character, because even though we don't want to be 100% like him, we can at least be 90% like him. Just leave out all the violent parts. It's like 4 in the morning. I gotta get to fucking bed. Very good movie. Please see it. You're doing yourself a disservice if you haven't.